The danger of decision isn't always the choice itself. It's how often we make them without actually knowing what we're doing. Picture this. You're walking down a pathway, but it suddenly splits into 3 separate paths. The sign ahead reads, 1 takes you to a minefield, 1 a dense forest, and the last one, well, Starbucks. Now naturally, as the caffeine-dependent creatures we all are, we would run to Starbucks with 0 hesitation. Well, the sign throws you a curveball. It reads, you're on your own with this one, pal. Go with your gut. So, naturally, like any functioning member of human society would, when faced with a high-stakes choice like this, we resort to the universal method of, well, any, miny, miny, mo. Yeah, any, miny, miny, mo. So, you end up choosing the middle path blindly and just hope for the best. Well, the scary part isn't choosing the wrong path. It's not knowing anything about the path to begin with. It's kind of like when you download an app on your phone. You press download, you wait, you open it, and then bam, you're hit with this. Please agree to the terms and conditions. Ugh. Your mind goes, are you really going to read all of that? I've never spent more than 5 seconds reading anything there. So for all I know, I just blindly gave away my kidneys. And yet, without a blink of an eye, I'm just going to press accept, well, anyway. Well, I'm also still contemplating how much of my organs are, well, still legally mine. At this point, the amount of times I've just pressed accept, I've just lost track of. But if blindly signing away my organs doesn't convince you on my blind decision making, take my mock physics exam into account. Okay, there I was, guessing my way through the exam, well, as any good student would. Sometimes I was just purely gaslighting myself into believing I was correct. Well, because the formula looked correct. Yeah, looked correct. I was that desperate. I kind of reminded myself of playing Wheel of Fortune. I was spinning, I was guessing, but I didn't know any of the letters to the word. I was just praying not to land on that bankrupt slot. Okay, my teacher calls me over to his desk and tells me, Luke, congrats, you actually got 100. Okay, who are we lying to? Instead, 2 weeks later, I got a lovely slap from reality. Let's just say I did not win a car. I barely walked away with the bus fare. Well, what did these tiny moments have in common with each other? I didn't have a plan. I didn't have information. I just made an uninformed decision. It's actually more common than you think, because today, 69% of consumers often rely on their gut when shopping. Like imagine going to the grocery store and asking your gut if the mac and cheese on the shelf was gluten-free. Like, how would it even know? How does that even work? Well, how is an uninformed decision actually being made? I'm going to describe a place, and I want you to put some real thought into it. Okay, you step inside a room, and you met with decor that is a bold study in primary colors. Your meal arrives. It's an architectural feat of symmetry, and it is stacked with precision. You get 3 rounds of golden, toasted brioche that cradle interior elements like the medallions of protein that are tender, rich, and seasoned. Now, you're probably thinking, Gordon Ramsay would be jumping up and down for this kind of thing. Yeah, no, that's just McDonald's. That golden brioche thingy with the protein medallions, that's a Big Mac, my friend. But I'm guessing you probably didn't think I was speaking of McDonald's, because I just sprinkled a bunch of fancy words over meat and bun, and your brain probably strayed away from fast food. So, why did you jump to the conclusion I was talking about a Michelin star restaurant? Well, let's compare a brain that makes an informed decision and an uninformed decision. Now, I know we're not all brain experts here, but just bear with me. Now, here's the brain of someone who makes an informed decision. Now, here's the brain of someone who makes an uninformed decision. Well, me. Here's the difference. Both brains have a judge that is 100% able to make an informed decision. But the judge in my brain is terribly lazy. This judge shows up to court and says, okay, I'm just going to listen to the first thing I hear, and that's it. I'm checking out for the day. Sounds ridiculous, right? Well, he'll even come up with verdicts like, oh, you fixed your cracked phone screen with toothpaste? Oh, I can do that too. Or you charged your phone instantly by putting it in the microwave? Oh, guess I can do that too. And when questioned why, he'll give statements like, oh, I saw it on Reddit last night. They can't be wrong. Well, this is the type of judge that Judge Judy would have dismissed from her courtroom. He'd rule in favor of a goldfish. Yeah, a goldfish, just because it spoke first. Well, what's going on here? This lazy judge takes shortcuts, doesn't fully think or understand the situation, or has graduated from law school. He really just cares about one thing, coming to a verdict quickly. So he'll take whatever sounds the most convincing while lacking any research or evidence behind it. Now, I know the system may work when we're just picking a show on Netflix just by looking at the thumbnail, or during the Salem witch trials where we just burned whoever we wanted to. Sorry to break it to you, this is not going to cut it in the real world. Any statement needs logical reasoning and backup, as our modern society heavily relies on actual data and research. But now, this judge does have one fear. Well, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI. The FBI in our brains are usually quiet, but he'll awaken when he hears something that sounds way too good to be true, like charging your phone in the microwave. He ultimately puts the judge in check because he forces him to stop and actually think about something before actually deciding it. Well, there are two situations for the whole decision-making process. There's an educational and practical situation, like school or work, where the FBI tends to kick in because these tasks require accurate and critical thinking. However, the FBI in our brains are usually absent in situations where leisure is present. Kind of like when you're scrolling on Instagram or TikTok. While we scroll on social media, we usually tend to feel lazy, and our brains aren't working as they would during a school or work assignment, leading us to absorb information like a sponge. Yeah. Ultimately, it has contributed to the mass spread of misinformation today. So many people have thought they were dying. Yeah, dying. Because they searched up their minor headache online and came out thinking they have terminal brain disease. I even find myself falling victim to this. I can remember social media dances, trends, But for goodness sake, I could never remember Newton's 3 laws from my physics class. Today, we live in a world where decisions are made fast, loud, and often wrong. Not because we don't care, because we just don't stop to think, and we just outsourced our thinking. Well, it's kind of like when you watch Netflix and become an expert like that. Yeah, there's an actual name for that. The Dunning-Kruger effect. It's basically where someone with low knowledge overestimates their ability. Recently, I've been watching Grey's Anatomy for the past few months. I've seen multiple surgeries being performed, so naturally, I felt qualified enough to scrub in and perform a Whipple. I'll never forget the feeling when I learned Grey's Anatomy wasn't completely accurate. My whole medical degree just seemed like a lie. And all those hours on my couch were just wasted. The funny thing is, the medical industry is one of the most researched ones out there. Yet, I just took the first thing that was handed to me, and I didn't even bother to check it. Well, you're probably thinking, and I just took the first thing that was handed to me, and I didn't even bother to check it. What I'm going at here is, we need to stop treating information like our ex. It's definitely not going to go away. You're just going to have to make amends with it. Information is our friend. You could even call him your brain's lawyer. The one great thing about this lawyer is he's always active, unlike the FBI. You just need to call him to the stand. But this lawyer isn't just simply sitting around. He's a pretty busy man, meaning you have to actively go searching for him. But here's the problem. Today, people are too lazy to actually do this. They'd simply rather rely on the FBI because it's more convenient. Yeah, but would you rather rely on the FBI and go around believing things like the earth is flat? Yeah, I didn't think so. This lawyer does not play games. He will never let the judge come to a conclusion unless he's thoroughly presented and analyzed every single piece of evidence. He's as serious as a TSA officer when he just takes my shampoo bottle like I'm trying to smuggle liquid explosives. He's taking every single piece of evidence to actively defend his client at all times. Well, and in the end, his efforts do pay off because the judge is informed enough to make the right call. You can basically call this guy our hero because he took information and he put it into action. But what does this look like today? Recently, I analyzed some of my own decisions. And when you sit down and look at the things we do on our own, it can be alarming. I did some research on the everyday products around us. I know. We all love our cleaning products. But do we even know what's in some of these guys? Usually, I just hear, kills 99.9% of germs. Oh, the point one can just hang around for a while, right? Apparently, research from Stanford has shown that some of these products have toxic gases, and when you come into contact with them, they cause dizziness, irritation, and to some extent could be fatal. Well, in simple terms, they have no-no juice, and when you come into contact with no-no juice, you go bye-bye. So, you're not just cleaning out your bathroom, you're cleaning out your will as well. 2 birds, 1 stone, I guess. But it's kind of scary knowing that everyday things around us were just slowly harming us. So I gathered all the information, took all the research, and started my own educational campaign. That's taking information and turning it into action. Now, we've all probably made an uninformed decision. Some of us may be more lazy than others when it comes to the whole decision-making process. But remember, the judge's sneakiest trick is to slip in when the stakes are low. But eventually, these low-stakes situations will escalate into something much bigger. The truth is, every decision you make, big or small, shapes who you become. So don't let that lazy judge define your story. Be the person who chooses clarity over convenience and turns questions into curiosity. That's how we can go from uninformed to unstoppable. Thank you.